name's Brian Wells, and I am a creator of family entertainment. Some of you know that my journey in family entertainment started about 10 years ago. One of the things that I started to discover during that time was the effect that our kids' entertainment choices were having on some of the issues that we're looking at, especially right during the middle school years. It seems like when they're in that transition from childhood to adulthood, if the most engaging entertainment that they're exposed to has themes of revenge and hate and looking out for yourself, you kind of end up with one kind of effect. But if the most engaging entertainment they have involves themes of courage and compassion and friendship, then you end up with an entirely different kind of effect.
Seventh grade was one of the worst years of your life. What made it so bad?
Yeah, well, I think some of it was just kind of, it's just a tough time of life. You know, you're kind of growing into your body. You're trying to figure out what's a good friend, what's not, and all that. But it was exacerbated by me. In my city, they took everybody after 6th grade and they shipped them all into two what they called 7th grade centers. So you're totally, for 1 year alone, you're at this total new school with all these new people. And then it's just a weird thing for me, but like, it sounds cheesy now, but everybody in my new school roller skated, and that was the big thing to do on Fridays and Saturday nights. I didn't know how to roller skate. It was tragic for me because I had no way to socially hang out with people, so it's not off to a good start. So that was a big thing for 7th grade for me. It was just like I didn't have roller skating skills, and that was a problem at my school.
Who, if anyone, inspired the characters TJ and Lucy? If so, how did they inspire them?
Yeah, well, you know what? All the three main characters in the book, Jake, TJ, and Lucy, they all have a little bit of me in them, and they have a little bit of my kids in them. So I got a son who's in college now up at Miami University, and I have a daughter who's a senior in high school, and they all had bits and pieces of them. I would say probably the pieces of me that are in each one of them is, when I was that age, I felt pretty much like Jake. Like I had a lot more going on in my brain that I could actually articulate for people, and social interactions were kind of frustrating for me. And I think Lucy is she's probably more the kid I wish I had been. You know, kind of not scared of anything. She'll try anything, you know, all that kind of stuff. So there's different pieces of me in each one of the characters, and there's different pieces of my kids.
Sounds like Lucy's more outgoing than Jake.
Yeah, she definitely is. Lucy's there's this term that's called third culture kid. I don't know if you ever heard that, but it's kids that tended to have grown up living in a lot of different cultures. Maybe their parents worked for a business where they traveled and moved around a lot to different countries, or maybe they were a missionary kid or something like that. They're called third culture kids. They tend to be pretty self-motivated, they tend to be really entrepreneurial and all that, but also they tend to be pretty mistrusting of other people, and it makes them hard to develop friendships. That's kind of what Lucy is patterned off of, this kind of, wow, she's kind of like a MacGyver kind of, she can solve problems and all that, but also she's a little mistrusting of other people, a little bit too independent.
What inspired you to turn to books after so much success with all your movies?
Well, you know, it's interesting. For me, books are kind of my first love. I like movies, I like TV, but books are kind of my first love, and a lot of it goes back to when I was growing up, my dad would volunteer at the Salvation Army store in our town, and he would organize all their donated books. He created like a little bookstore inside the Salvation Army retail store, and in exchange for doing that, they let him bring home any books he wanted for free. And when I was probably, 8 or 9, he brought home for me an old donated copy of The Hardy Boys. It was The Secret Agent on Flight 101. I still remember the title, Secret Agent on Flight 101. I read that. I loved action adventure, just fell in love with reading from then on. After that, whenever anybody would donate a Hardy Boys book, he would bring it home for free to me. I still have like all 50 of them at my house. So that was kind of, there's two reasons why I brought The League of the Lantern out as a book. One is just books are my first love, even more than movies. And two is, I wanted to control it a little bit more. When you're making a movie, there's a ton of people involved in the movie, and there's a ton of other requirements. You know, you can't just say, oh, I want to blow up an airplane. And they'll say, okay, that's going to be $900,000. Where are we going to find that in the budget, you know? So in the book, you can kind of dream, I could blow up the moon if I wanted, and that's kind of the freedom I wanted with the book.
In books, you can do whatever you want for free, basically.
Yeah, and so maybe someday I'll get to the place like Steven Spielberg where he can blow up the moon on a movie if he wants. Right now, I have to do it in a book. Not that we blow up the moon in this book, but that's an idea, maybe for future.
When could we expect the next book in the series, or are you already working on it?
Yeah, a yes to both. We'll see. I want to be careful I don't write a check I can't cash, but every day on my to-do list, I've got, hey, carve out some time to work on the next book. So I'm probably I'm about 2/3 the way through book number 2. My goal is to bring it out sometime in 2017. I've kind of roughly sketched out the series. It'd be 5 books. Each would come out one a year over the next 5 years. We'll see if I can keep up with that promise.
That's a pretty fast pace.
Well, one a year, I think, yeah. We'll see. I'm talking big right now.
How much have you enjoyed the success that the book has gotten so far?
Well, I love it. There's nothing like somebody reading the book, particularly somebody who's kind of a middle school student, reading the book and saying it's one of their favorite books they've read, because that's kind of why you do it. So it's really cool that the idea that you get an idea and you can translate it to your fingers and you can type it out, and with a lot of work and a lot of revisions, I would say I probably rewrote this book 25, 30 times before we published it,
Wow.
But with all that work, then when it kind of really works for somebody, that's awesome. So I've loved it. It's really encouraging.
See, so it sounds like your favorite part is more when the kids come up to you and say, "Hey, you're the author of my favorite book."
Well, there is an old saying that says that most writers love having written. They don't necessarily love writing. And that's kind of partially true. It's just because like anything you do, even if it's something you're awesome at, let's say, if you're just an awesome basketball player, there's also a lot of work and a lot of grind if you're really going to be as good as you really can be. And that's the hard part. And it's the same with a writer, of learning to revise and rewrite and all that. A lot of that can be painful sometimes, but it pays off when it ends up being a story that people respond to.
So how big of a role does writing play in your life now?
It depends. I write in a lot of different forms, in one form or the other, I'd say probably about 75% of my work is, writing in some way or the other. And you could take a gift of writing and do a lot of different things with it. Yeah, you can write a novel. You can also, get involved in communications and write press releases. You can write speeches. You can, even when I worked in business, I worked at Procter & Gamble for 10 years. There is a great need for people who can communicate their ideas concisely and effectively. So in almost any job you go into, if you've developed good writing skills, it's going to serve you well.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.